Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're joined here tonight in the studio by Engineer Sherine Naggar, the international transport consultant. Engineer Naggar, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for your invitation.
Sir, now, this plan that works on the intervention and emphasizing sea and dry ports, trying to really take Egypt into becoming a trade and logistical hub. Now, having you on the show here before, many times we spoke about the different efforts and the vision regarding putting Egypt's maritime, at least, transportation networks into the global scheme of things, being really recognized as a major transport hub. How far have we come so far, and this future plan that really works on dealing with the nitty-gritty details of it? How do you prospect the vision and this plan?
Well, this plan as it stands, I'm afraid, does not hold much water. And the reason for that is that we have several conflicting bodies within the maritime transport sector. Conflicting not in the sense that they are conflicting, but in the sense that they are competing. They are not cooperating. They are rather competing with each other. To give you an example, which I quoted many times before, you have certain ports that are owned and managed by the Suez Canal Economic Zone, and also you have ports owned by the Ministry of Maritime Transport, and you have ports owned and operated by the Navy, as well as the specialized ports. And these, they don't talk to each other. And this is extremely important when you have a country of the magnitude and the location of Egypt, that you must have a proper dialogue and a proper policy between all those ports and all those authorities. Or, as an alternative, everybody has got to fall under one body and forget about this is managed by that and that is managed by who and so on. No, this is not working. It is not working at all, and it is only creating conflict. And the conflict is usually in the interest of foreign parties and in the interest of parties which really should not have any interest. To give you an example, we have the Ministry of Transport. The cooperation of Ministry of Transport with various shipping lines, on the one hand, it might be beneficial, but on the other hand, it is totally devastating to some bodies within the Ministry of Transport. I would quote an example. There has been a concession given to a user of the Damietta port container terminal, and that user is 60% volume of Damietta, and he suddenly got a concession to build up his own terminal and leave Damietta. And then the second part came when you have the remaining 40% were given concession in Alexandria. This means that within June 2024, Damietta container terminal will simply shut down. Losing this terminal is giving a net profit of close to £1 billion a year. That you will not see. When you talk about a mega carrier or a mega line wanting to operate its own terminal in a country of any kind, they look at, first of all, the port calls, the handling operations, container lifting on and lifting off and so on. And then they talk about the container management, which means that what they're going to do with stuffing the container, destuffing the container, moving the cargo into stores, or moving the entire container to the consignee from A to B. The agency that works all this, that controls the dialogue between the owner and the authorities, the trucking, the forwarding, the inspection, everything that relates to the operation of a terminal goes to the shipping line. Now, the shipping line is a line that makes money on freight. not on agency, not on handling, on many, many other aspects. And at the end of the day, you will find that they completely monopolize the operation. Now that will cause serious damage to the existing companies within a particular port or a particular thing, which is exactly what is going to happen in Damietta. Now, here we are saying no. Why should a shipping line control everything? And of course, they dictate prices, they dictate terms of demurrage, container demurrage, price of container demurrage, handling charges, storage, everything. They will dictate it. And when you start telling them, hey, wait a minute, this is too high, you should go down on this, oh, then Egypt is not supporting investment, and Egypt is not an investment attractive country, and all this. Now, if they did not know that Egypt was a very attractive investment point, they wouldn't have come, no matter what incentive you give them, if they're not making enough money on Egypt. So this is something very serious, and is taking place very, very strongly these days. Another thing which is totally, in my opinion, totally chaotic. Look at Alexandria and the Khaila port. You have in Alexandria, you have Alexandria Container Cargo Handling Company, you have a Chinese terminal in Alexandria, and now you have the new terminal that's just been opened a few days ago. These are three terminals, and they compete with each other. And then the Khaila, which is only 2 miles away, they have another three terminals. They have Alexandria Container Terminal, they have the Chinese, and they are negotiating what they call K100 or berth number 100 for a third container terminal. So inside 5 miles, you have 6 competing container terminals. Where's the logic? If somebody comes and says, okay, oh yes, we're going to attract more business, but there is no more business. The business is in the container world, it is a group of alliances. It is known that you have 1, 2, 3, 4 alliances worldwide, and they controlling 100% of the container traffic. If one shipping line turns up in one port, this entire alliance will come. There's one alliance with 3 companies, there's one alliance with 4 companies, and there's one alliance with 4 companies. Now, when you're talking about an alliance of this magnitude and this volume, they want to control everything. But then you say, okay, fine, these people are going to, they promise to attract more business. Where is the business?
But isn't the Alexandria port is considered one of the major ones on the Mediterranean, and maybe it has more room to expand, so there would be more business?
Where would that more business come from? You are talking about a certain number of containers trading within the Mediterranean. Now, you cannot go and tell an Italian company, hey, wait a minute, you're coming from importing cargo from the Far East, come and drop it in Alexandria for transshipment, and then take it out to Italy. Why should I do that? My ship is going straight into Italy, or my ship is going straight into Spain. So why should I go through an intermediate? They only go through intermediate when you have minor cargo operations. And minor cargo operations or minor volumes means like, 2, 3, 4, 500 containers. That's minor in today's terms. But when you look at what we are really doing at the moment, we are shooting our own toes in this particular operation. We are shooting our own toes, and we're shooting our own toes big time, I'm afraid.
Well, you spoke about the monopolizing of it. Well, what about the prospect of replicating the PPP, the public-private partnership of the dry ports? Is there a way that we can have the private sector with the public sector in a way that would diffuse any sort of competition or monopoly?
You see, private sector will always be scared of joining public sector. And the reason for this is there is so many conflicting laws over years and years and years. You get, for example, decree number 488, which is a catastrophic decree on the Egyptian maritime transport economy. Then they wanted to correct it, so they drafted even a more catastrophic one called decree number 800. And then they are still worrying. I mean, they were the ones who created the problem, and they are the ones who are having difficulty solving it. This is exactly what I'm saying. There is so much conflict between rules, between regulations, between ports. I mean, to give you another example, if you're going into Egypt, coming into the port of Alexandria, and you are discharging a cargo of, say, lubricating oil. This goes into the container, into the petroleum harbor in Alexandria. And you discharge, and off you go. Or you load, and off you go. Even if you have cargo which is dangerous in transit, you still are safe, no problem. Now, if you go into the Khela port, which is only 2 miles away, and under the same authority and under the same management, you go there and you want to discharge the same cargo into a private sector tank, the port authority will tell you, oh, you have to pay $8,000 per shift in tug, fire tug, standby fire tug. But why? I don't do it in Alexandria. We don't talk about Alexandria, it's another port. Now, if a ship owner from the outside comes and looks at this and looks at that, he immediately will see, oh, wait a minute, what is going on? There's a conflict there. No, I'm not going to go to that port. I don't know. There's so much uncertainty. And uncertainty in shipping means money and means losses, and losses in shipping can be colossal. And that is what I'm saying. The same story goes in the Red Sea ports, where you have the Suez Canal Economic Zone managing Adabeya port, and you have the Ministry of Maritime Transport managing Port Tawfiq, and the distance between them is barely a mile. And when you go from one port to another, it means like you are going from one country to another. You have to go through the process of applying for a port, applying for permits, applying for this and that and the other, and then you pay the whole lot once more. Oh no, we are a different authority. These conflicts need to go. If we are to build up a hub, that means a real hub and a strong hub. And I bet my entire career that Egypt can become world's #1 shipping hub if these problems are solved. Literally. I have been in this business nearly 50 years, and I bet my career, if these problems are properly addressed and correctly solved, Egypt inside 2 to 3 years will become one of the largest, if not the largest, hubs in the world. Remember, we have the Suez Canal. The Suez Canal, you have 22,000 ships crossing the Suez Canal every year. Now, all that transit cargo, some of it gets transited in the Red Sea, some of it gets transited in Limassol or Larnaca or Malta. Why? Because the owners can see that there is a problem. If the Suez Canal is allowing the passage for this kind of volume, we must, as a supporting bodies, also say, okay, fine, Suez Canal, we are going to give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in support. And at the same time, the Suez Canal will tell its clients, oh, wait a minute, I'm transiting the ship fine, and I also have those big hubs around me, which you can use. Of course, Suez Canal is not a marketing body, but at least they would announce it. It will be on their circulars, it will be on their PR notes. Combining those two, and if you make $100 billion a year, you're a loser. Profit, that is. You are a loser. I mean, the potential is phenomenal. I will bring your memory back to the interview which you attended with the chairman of the International Chamber of Shipping and the Secretary General.
Yes.
And do you remember what they told you? They told you this country has a phenomenal potential.
Yes.
But we need to streamline things, revise those conflicting laws and conflicting decrees, try and make sure that the customs regulations, the taxation regulations, the security regulations are unified into a sense that, oh, I'm going to a certain Egyptian port. No, I'm going to Egypt. If I go to Khela, or I go to Alexandria, or I go to Adabeya, or I go to Sokhna, or Safaga, or whatever, it is the same set of rules. Nothing is different, nothing changes. I'm going to be treated, I'm going to pay for example, when you charge the port dues, I'm going to be paying so many dollars or cents or whatever per gross metric ton, or gross registered ton.
Yes.
End of story. I know if I go to Adabeya, I'll pay this, and if I go to Port Tawfiq, I'll pay the same. If I go everywhere, I pay the same. It doesn't happen now. And then suddenly you get towage, which is completely sporadic from one port to another. This is what we are worried about.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be off to a short break and we'll be right back to continue our discussion with Engineer Naggar, so don't go away.